Live in high definition from WBFF in Baltimore. This is Fox 45 News at 10.
Hello, I'm Kai Jackson. Karen Parks is off tonight. Tensions remain high in Baltimore as police release more information about the death of Freddie Gray. We have live team coverage. Keith Daniels joins us live from Western District Police Headquarters, where a large protest is expected to start tomorrow. But we begin with Jeff Abel. Jeff, what did the police commissioner, Anthony Batts, reveal about the investigation this afternoon?
Well, it appears that they're still a long way from wrapping up this case, but for the first time, Commissioner Batts did admit today his officers failed Freddie Gray.
We're refining our investigation, we're getting closer, and the picture is getting sharper and sharper as we move forward.
While the probe is far from over, Police Commissioner Anthony Batts says it's already apparent his officers failed Freddie Gray.
We know he was not buckled in the transportation wagon as he should have been. No excuses for that, period. We know our police employees failed to get him medical attention in a timely manner multiple times.
Gray died last Sunday while in police custody, but so far, neither police nor medical examiners can figure out how he received a spinal cord injury while in custody.
I've been recorded. What car did it come out of, yo?
A team of more than 30 detectives is now retracing the events where Gray was spotted, apprehended, then loaded into a police van. Police say not even surveillance cameras can tell the entire story.
There's a gap for me. The gap between where Mr. Gray ran from the officers and where the video picks up. What we don't have there is witnesses or CCTV information to show what occurred there. So we have to clear that picture.
Tonight, police asked for help identifying those in this photo taken from surveillance cameras on the day of the incident.
We really need to identify those folks because we're certain that they can help us continue to move forward in this investigation.
As for the fate of the city's police commissioner,
I am clear that Reverend Gwynn of Ministerial Alliance has called for my resignation. That's not going to happen.
well, the commissioner says he has received the preliminary results of the autopsy, but it could be at least a month before final results are in. We're live at police headquarters tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
The Freddie Gray case was the topic when Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake met with members of the clergy and community leaders this afternoon. After that meeting, they stood together at City Hall and the mayor spoke about her concerns.
I still want to know why the policies and the procedures for transport were not followed. I still want to know why none of the officers called for immediate medical assistance despite Mr. Gray's apparent pleas. The one thing we all know is that because of this incident, a mother has to bury her child. And she doesn't even know exactly how or why this tragedy occurs. Only that this occurred while her child was in our custody, in police custody.
The mayor and clergy members also appealed for protesters to remain peaceful. Tonight, on the eve of Saturday's expected protest, Baltimore City Police are telling us they are prepared for what could be a massive demonstration. Meantime, protest organizers are talking about their goals. Keith Daniels is live in West Baltimore, where demonstrators are expected to gather for a big rally. Keith?
Well, Kai, all the protests we've seen this week have culminated here at the Western Police District, where police called paramedics for Freddie Gray. Now, we don't see any demonstrators here at this hour, but organizers say protesters will gather here tomorrow afternoon before marching to City Hall. It's been nearly a week of daily protests in Baltimore City. Demonstrators demanding answers over the death of Freddie Gray, who died while in police custody. Hundreds of protesters have marched, but attorney Malik Shabazz,
We are not some out-of-town leaders like others.
national president of Black Lawyers for Justice, says his group is organizing what could be part of the largest protest we've seen so far.
What am I telling you? That we will be consistent. We are not here for some one-day demonstration, some one-day show. I'm just a few minutes from here. And people who know me and know my organizing record or know our organizing record, we're serious.
Baltimore City Police expect thousands to attend Saturday's rally, and police say they are prepared.
We have extensive law enforcement resources to assist. Some will be seen, some will not.
So far, this week's protests have been peaceful, and there's a plea from community leaders to keep it that way, with concern over outsiders who might attend.
We do not need outside forces to come in and try to encourage people to act other ways other than just rallying and demanding justice.
We want to remind everyone in the Baltimore community, we cannot stress enough the need for peaceful demonstrations as we gather through these tough times.
Well, Baltimore police say Maryland State Police and Anne Arundel County Police are among the additional law enforcement agencies who will be in the city tomorrow to help out. Well, live now in West Baltimore, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
All right, Keith, thank you. A Maryland group that includes civil rights organizations and faith-based leaders is calling on Governor Larry Hogan to take action following the death of Freddie Gray. Members of the Maryland Coalition for Justice and Equality met at the Douglas Memorial Church today. They say the Gray case highlights a disturbing recent report made by the ACLU. That report says at least 109 people in Maryland died in police encounters over the past 5 years. They say Governor Hogan has several options available to him to do something about it.
Remember, the budget starts with the governor, providing the resources that would support body camera implementation, not just here but across the state, is one thing the governor can do. The governor can review the incidences where there's been death while in police custody and find out, is there other executive action that he needs to take for law enforcement, which falls under his responsibility, is acting appropriately.
Governor Hogan releases a statement regarding the Freddie Gray investigation. In it, he expressed his sympathy for Gray's family and said this is about the protest over the weekend. He says, to date, the nature of these demonstrations have been a testament to Baltimore's strong character and our common commitment to peace and justice. It is my hope that events planned for this weekend continue to reflect positively on the community. Funeral arrangements for Freddie Gray have been set. On Sunday, a wake for Gray will be held from 1 to 6 p.m. at the Vaughn Green Funeral Home on York Road in North Baltimore. Then on Monday, April 27th, funeral services for Freddie Gray will be held at New Shiloh Baptist Church on North Monroe Street in West Baltimore. A public hour will be held from 10 to 11 a.m. The service will then begin at 11 a.m. Burial will be immediately following that service at Woodlawn Cemetery in Baltimore County. The death of Freddie Gray has gained national attention. There's been nearly a week of protests, with more expected this weekend. During yesterday's march to City Hall, 2 men were arrested. The first is 24 years old and has been charged with destruction of property. The second person is 23 years old and he's been charged with assault. Freddie Gray wasn't the first person to suffer a spinal injury in the back of a police wagon. In 2005, a Baltimore man arrested for a minor infraction was loaded into a police van similar to the one used to transport Gray and was not buckled in. Dondi Johnson also died. Tonight, crime and justice reporter Joy LaPola investigates the frequency of these rough rides.
This general order we obtained came out 9 days before Freddie Gray's arrest. In it, the procedures an officer is to follow to make sure there aren't injuries once a person is arrested. Listed on page 2 of the 15-page document, it states, quote, the detainee is secured with the provided seatbelt or restraining device. The seatbelt should be secured around the waist or upper body of the detainee. It's later explained the reason for the procedure is to make sure the detainee is not injured. In Gray's case, he went into the van breathing, but wasn't when he came out. The cause remains under investigation. In West Baltimore,
watch your head. Boom. Watch your head.
Only one person told us she had, on occasion, been buckled in. She says most of the time, she wasn't.
And you have to actually brace yourself, in cuffs, brace yourself to try not to keep sliding back and forth. This door, that door, and other individuals, if there are some in there. We all slide at the same time. We all trying to balance ourselves back and forth.
Based on what commanders told us, Freddie Gray was not buckled in. Whether that played a role in the injuries he sustained is under investigation. Despite numerous requests to see the back of a police wagon, the department has refused us access. What we know from people who say they've been in the back of one, there is a steel wall separating the driver from the detainees.
Slide window is about this big, rectangular, and he can slide back and see what's going on behind him. So if anything was to happen, they would know.
Down the middle of the van is another metal barrier.
It's like a sheet of steel between me and you, and they have grates, maybe about that big, where you can see through the other side.
While it may be difficult to see someone sitting on the other side of the van, you can hear them. In Gray's case, there was a second person in handcuffs. As for whether Gray was still breathing when that second person was picked up, is information expected to be released. And whether the lack of a seatbelt played a role in Gray's injuries, the commissioner says it's a possibility, as is the fact that Gray didn't receive any medical attention, despite repeated requests. During a one-on-one interview with the police commissioner, Anthony Batts strongly suggested that other department policies were likely violated by the 6 officers suspended. In West Baltimore, Joy LaPola, Fox 45 News.
The speed of the investigation into Freddie Gray's death is frustrating some people. Police did release more information about what happened today, but many questions remain unanswered. Crisis management expert and former police officer Rob Weinhold says the investigation needs to proceed at an appropriate pace.
Investigators have a responsibility toward truth and eventually justice, right? And that's through the entire criminal justice system. So to prematurely release facts or facts which could hinder witness testimony and statements would be irresponsible. Everybody wants more information than is available, and that's very understandable. The investigation needs to run its course.
Well, coming up, we'll retrace the route the police van took the night Freddie Gray was arrested. That'll come up tonight, new at 10:30. The Westminster Police Department is searching for 24-year-old Kyle Dean Olson. He was reported missing by his family on Monday. Police say he was last seen walking on a Rouse Street near East Green Street Monday afternoon. Authorities say Olson has mental health issues that, if not monitored, could jeopardize him. If you know anything regarding his whereabouts, you're asked to contact authorities. Baltimore police are investigating how a car crashes into someone's home today. Take a look at this. It happened this morning on Bostworth Avenue in northwest Baltimore. You can see at least half of that car is inside the home. Police say one person had to be pulled out of the vehicle. There's no word on his condition tonight. A concert at a high school takes a terrifying turn. The stage collapses underneath students. What survivors are saying about it and the questions that remain tonight. Up next, this young man ran for the title of prom queen, the change the school made after he won. And American Sniper postponed. Why the University of Maryland won't be showing that movie anytime soon when the news at 10 continues.
Chilly weather to start off the weekend, but also some rain on the way. What time it arrives and when we'll warm up, that's coming up in my full forecast.
A 15-year-old student is behind bars tonight, charged with the severe beating of a 61-year-old Dundalk man. As John Rydell reports, the girl is just one of dozens of teens who was involved in the attack.
It's sad. I mean, they attacked him like a bunch of savages for no reason.
When I came down and seen that man, it made you totally sick. Blood was everywhere. He passed out on the steps.
Neighbors are describing the brutal attack of 61-year-old Richard Fletcher. They say he witnessed 2 girls fighting near his pickup truck, but when he told them to break it up, he was attacked by more than a dozen other young people.
And they were videotaping it and cheering like they were at a football game, kicking this man. It was unbelievable.
Neighbors believe many of those responsible are students at the Baltimore Community School just down the street.
There's been assaults up and down the street, violence, cars broken into, the kids jump on top of the cars, walk over the cars.
After school, there was a heavy police presence in the neighborhood. Detectives then detained a teenage girl who was later charged with the assault. And police say they expect to make more arrests, but neighbors say that cannot erase what happened.
When it comes to a point that an elderly man who's lived in this neighborhood for however long is attacked for no reason and beaten to the point that he's beaten.
In Dundalk, John Rydell.
It's unacceptable in any neighborhood.
Fox 45 News.
Aberdeen police are investigating a fatal train accident that happened on the CSS tracks. Officials say a pedestrian was struck and killed by a freight train around the West Bel Air Avenue crossing near Mount Royal Avenue this afternoon. The unidentified male was deceased when police arrived on the scene. Traffic in that area was being rerouted. The incident is not affecting travel on the Penn Line. The Statue of Liberty and the surrounding area has been given the all clear after an evacuation today. Law enforcement says someone phoned in a bomb threat early this morning. That threat mentioned a suspicious package inside a locker. The New York Police Bomb Squad was brought in to investigate, and after a few hours, they did give the all clear. The Statue of Liberty will reopen on Saturday. So people who are in the area posted these pictures on social media. Here you see a helicopter flying above Lady Liberty. A Port Authority police officer on the outside of Ellis Island, where the Statue of Liberty is in the distance. And here you can say mass numbers of people. Look at this. It's really almost reminiscent of people going to Ellis Island. These people were evacuated, essentially. Causes and concerns about terrorism obviously mandate a big response when things like this happen. And again, here's another picture of people evacuating the Statue of Liberty. It's supposed to reopen tomorrow. Another campus screening of American Sniper canceled yet again as the debate continues at colleges across the country over whether or not the Oscar-winning film depicts Muslims in an offensive way. Muslim students at the University of Maryland say it does. Lauren DeMarco reports school officials thought that alone was enough to shut it down.
The film featuring Bradley Cooper about the life of Navy SEAL Chris Kyle was supposed to be screened at the University of Maryland in May, but it's now been postponed indefinitely by the Student Entertainment Events Group.
If you look online and the type of comments, the degree of hostility that is kind of fired up by watching the movie.
The Muslim Student Association had gathered signatures on a petition saying the film dehumanizes Muslim individuals and portrays inaccurate stereotypes.
I don't think that it should be shown if it's making people uncomfortable.
But not everyone agrees.
I believe we live in a free society where, people can choose what they want to do and what they want to see, and that if you don't want to see American Sniper, then don't go.
Pulling the movie definitely sends a statement that almost like we don't want to be represented by this, but leaving the movie there, I don't think it's showing any statement.
UMD is not alone. Earlier this month, the University of Michigan canceled a screening, leading to uproar and social media posts like this one from football coach Jim Harbaugh. The school later reversed its decision. In College Park, a spokesperson for Student Entertainment Events says they will likely screen the movie next semester as part of a larger educational event. For some who signed the petition, that's not enough.
It's really hard to create a community where everybody's accepted for who they are. And I feel like if they show this film, it's going to be really bad for the minorities and for the Muslim students because it promotes Islamophobia. And that's something that we're trying to end, not promote.
So here's our question of the day. Should the University of Maryland have postponed plans to air American Sniper? You can join that discussion right now. Go to facebook.com/FoxBaltimore. An Arkansas high school senior runs for prom queen and wins, but the school refuses to give him the honor. 18-year-old Mason Coupler wanted to make a point to lowerclassmen before he walks across the stage to receive his diploma. After talking with his friends about LGBT issues, he decided to open doors for LGBT students at his school. Mason ran for the honor and won prom queen, but instead the school gave him the honor of prom royalty.
People who were against it were either restricted by the fact that their opinion was unpopular and just the fact that they may be cowards.
The school's principal would not explain why they chose to give Mason the title of prom royalty and not prom queen. It was not a prom king or queen this year. A moose on the loose led officers in Boise, Idaho on quite a chase Thursday. The 2-year-old moose was spotted hoofing it through a park. It wasn't the first time this moose made its way into the city. The repeat offender was tranquilized and taken back into the mountains. All right, let's check on our weather right now. Here's meteorologist Emily Gracie for a look at your forecast tonight and into the weekend. Hi, Emily.
Hi, getting a little chilly out there, Kai. 48 right now in BWI, and we're going to keep falling by tomorrow morning into the 30s, low 30s in some locations. Inner Harbor is at 55, one of the milder spots out there right now. And in the upper 40s, Westminster and Columbia, so already getting pretty chilly out there. The one piece of good news is the winds have lightened up. It was a very windy day today, but things have calmed down now. Calm winds in Baltimore, 3-mile-per-hour winds in Washington, D.C., and tomorrow we'll have some light winds as well. Now, temperatures overnight tonight are going to dip pretty quickly. We'll actually drop down into the 30s in many locations by 4 a.m. Some spots dropping down into the low to mid-30s. So we do have freeze warnings and frost advisories in place depending on where you live. Freeze warnings north of the city and frost advisories around the city. And we're going to see those temperatures rise to about 43 degrees by 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, and that's when those advisories come to an end. So I'll tell you about when we are going to see that rain arrive and when we're going to see some warmer temperatures. That's all coming up in my full forecast.
Emily, thank you. You can access the latest information when severe weather hits right on your mobile phone. Go to foxbaltimore.com and look for mobile in the top right-hand corner of the screen and download the Fox 45 mobile news app for your Droid or your iPhone. And you can get your evening forecast and the latest news an hour earlier on Fox 45 News at 4. Judge Judy is moved to 3 p.m., followed by Fox 45 News at 4 and Fox 45 News at 5. Depression and anxiety in teens, the connection to smartphones in 10 minutes on Fox 45 News at 10. And a stage collapse caught on camera, what survivors are saying about the terrifying accident. Los Angeles fashion designer is suing the Las Vegas Police Department after she says police used excessive force on her last year. This is surveillance video from the Mirage Hotel and Casino the night Ariana Mason says police went too far. Now, the video shows Mason in the middle of a fight. During the fight, she got in 4 punches, but was choked and beaten and dragged across the ground.
I don't want anybody to go through what I went through. And if it takes standing up and telling the world my story, that's what I'm going to do.
Mason sustained 4 gashes on her face and had to get 26 stitches. She says her face is still healing. The Las Vegas Police Department says it cannot comment on pending litigation. Nearly 24 high school students are hurt after a stage collapses at the end of a school musical. That performance involved about 75 students at Westfield High School in Westfield, Indiana. It's just north of Indianapolis. As you saw, a group of them were dancing on stage at the end of the show when that stage just gave way.
It was like a dog pile down in the pit, and just, you know, the cover for it was pinning students underneath, and so there was a lot of men that got up there right away. Were trying to free the students that were caught up underneath debris, and you know, there was definitely a lot of kind of pandemonium, panic going on there for a little bit.
First responders took one of the students to the hospital in critical condition, but police say now that student is going to be fine. A Baskin-Robbins worker is caught on camera taking things into her own hands when a robber demands money from the cash register. This is 19-year-old Rachel Bishop. And despite a man flashing a gun at her, she started throwing punches to stop the robbery. The robber did manage to get $280, but that didn't stop Bishop from chasing him out of the store and through a strip mall parking lot. Police say the effort she made led to the suspect's quick arrest, but they don't recommend fighting off someone like this. Bishop says she doesn't think it was the smartest thing to do, but she acted on instinct. Why smartphones may be causing more anxiety and depression in teens, and the ones affected the most. That's in our cover story when the News at 10 continues.
Getting chilly out there right now. One of the warmer spots is the Inner Harbor, still in the mid-50s. How cold will it be by tomorrow morning, and when that rain arrives, coming up after the break.
New at 10:30 tonight, the police commissioner says even for him, many questions remain unanswered about the events the morning of April 12th. Mary McKenzie mapped out the route today taken by the police van carrying Freddie Gray.
This is the spot where police first saw Freddie Gray about 8:39 that morning. Now we are at the corner of North Avenue and Mount Street. We're going to drive the route tonight.
At 8:40, after running 2 blocks south on Mount Street, Gray is arrested. At 8:42,
A van is requested and police say Gray requests an inhaler. At 8:46, the van stops at Mount and Baker, 1 block south, so police can complete paperwork. And Gray is taken out of the van and placed in leg irons. At 8:54, the van heads to central booking. At 8:59, a condition check. At Druid Hill and Dolphin, the van stops so that a check can be performed on Gray. From there, the timeline gets a little fuzzy. The driver gets a call for a second arrest, back where Freddie Gray was first spotted. From there, the wagon carrying both suspects heads to Western District. This is where paramedics were called to meet the wagon that was holding Freddie Gray. They got that call at 9:26, came down here and spent 20 minutes working on Gray before taking him to shock trauma at 10 o'clock that morning. I can tell you that as we drove the timeline today, it took us about a half an hour, including some stops for some camera adjustments. So that leaves so many questions about what happened during that roughly hour and 20-minute encounter that ultimately led to the death of Freddie Gray. We're in Baltimore. Mary McKenzie, Fox 45 News.
State lawmakers from around the country are also weighing in on the Freddie Gray case. The National Black Caucus of state legislators gathered in downtown Baltimore tonight, and members were calling for action.
We understand that there's an issue with police officers around the country, and it's not just black folks, it's police officers in general. And one of the things that we're calling for as we continue to look at this whole issue around policing in our communities, is there a need for psychological testing on a regular basis so that we don't see these kind of incidences continuing to occur.
Stay with Fox 45 for continuing coverage of the Freddie Gray investigation. We'll have updates in all our newscasts as well as special coverage on foxbaltimore.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/FoxBaltimore. We have breaking news to report from Northwest Baltimore. Homicide detectives are on the scene after a report of a shooting on Rogers Avenue. There are also reports about evidence of a stabbing at the scene as well. We'll bring you more information as it becomes available. The former owner of a Baltimore cafe has been convicted of more than a dozen counts of child sex abuse in a case that dates back 36 years. Nicholas Trinitis was found guilty of abusing the 10-year-old daughter of a woman who was a tenant and bartender at his cafe. The victim finally reported that abuse after more than 3 decades. Trinitis is scheduled for sentencing in June, and he faces up to 250 years in prison. An arrest has been made in the fire that critically injured a Fresno fire captain. Video of the fire captain Pete Dern falling through the roof of a boarding house captured national attention. Police have arrested Julia Harper for allegedly setting that home on fire and say she may have started it because she was kicked out of the house. Authorities say the fire captain, Pete Dern, remains in the hospital and continues to make progress. Harper is now charged with setting a fire and causing great bodily injury.
A defendant would be found exposed to up to 6 or 7 years. There may be other charges pending. The district office is reviewing that at this time.
The owner of the boarding house says Harper needs to be put away until she's right. Harper is being held at the Fresno County Sheriff's Office on a $75,000 bond. Italian authorities have been sweeping up terror suspects. Officials say they are linked to a major attack and were allegedly planning to go after an even more high-profile target. Police say the suspect's main target was Pakistan and attacking it in the hopes that Islamabad would withdraw its support for U.S. troops in Afghanistan. But prosecutors believe they may have planned a suicide attack in 2010 on the Vatican that they never carried out.
We never seen in Italy so many troops and people from the law enforcement agencies deployed down in the street like in this moment. Many big churches in Rome, for instance, are under military surveillance since several weeks.
The suspect's Italian base was Sardinia and are said to be key players in al-Qaeda. 2 of them are believed to have guarded Osama bin Laden's compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, moving to Italy. Now, the men, all Pakistanis and Afghans, are accused of raising money through illegal immigration rings. A new study out this month from the Pew Research Center says 1 in 4 American teens is on the internet almost constantly. Pew cites the widespread availability of smartphones as one of the reasons. Sheila Gray examines the connection between those smartphones and increased anxiety in children.
A leading child psychologist made headlines recently when she blamed the internet and smartphones for what she calls an explosion in mental health problems among young people, from suicide to self-harm. Julie Lynn Evans told reporter Peter Stanford, "Something is clearly happening because I am seeing the evidence in the numbers of depressive, anorexic, cutting children who come to see me. And it always has something to do with the computer, the internet, and the smartphone."
I think there is something to be had with what she said.
Duke University child psychologist Robin Gurwitch says she also sees a relationship between smartphones and kids experiencing depression and anxiety.
Teenage girls, that's the worst. If I miss a call, then I know they're going to all talk about me.
The Pew Research Center says girls overwhelmingly use social media more than boys, and Dr. Gurwitch says girls may feel pressure to be online constantly.
It becomes if I'm not connected, what does that mean? What are they saying about me? What are they doing? We do see some increase in anxiety disorders.
Dr. Gurwitch says being connected, not being left out, has created a whole new worry for kids.
I think oftentimes kids are not going to be maybe not aware or even strong enough mentally to be able to block some of that stuff out, and eventually it starts to just wear them down.
Mother of 6, Dr. Holly Danneman, has hard and fast rules about her kids' technology use, like no devices at the dinner table. Her high school-age son and daughter have more freedom than their younger siblings, and her daughter Maria is already learning what can happen when kids make bad decisions.
Like, I've seen friends just get this bad reputation from that kind of stuff and never really been able to get it back.
Keep an eye on that cake, she called out over her shoulder.
Rachel Foles' work life is all about technology. She's a digital marketing manager, but she and her husband leave technology at the door when they come home.
There are no cell phones at her dinner table. There's no internet time when she's awake.
4-year-old Lucy gets almost no internet exposure. She does have a kid's tablet, but it doesn't connect online.
Do you have time limits on this?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. She only gets to use this like once a week. We decided early on that we wanted Lucy to have a more unplugged childhood.
Rachel says she already sees benefits, like Lucy's great attention span and her kindness. But disconnecting completely is not for every family. Holly Danneman's kids connect at different levels according to age, and she's constantly monitoring.
Kind of set these limits early. They know that it's a one and done. It's not a two and done, it's a one and done. And don't disappoint, because it's a privilege.
We also have to recognize that we are exploring in many ways uncharted waters.
Dr. Gurwitch says parents need to set some rules for when and how often kids can connect, and stay vigilant about the content they're seeing.
Now we can get pornography. Children can access that. They can access anorexia sites. They can access drug sites. They can access self-harm sites.
And perhaps most important, model good behavior ourselves.
So our parents sitting at the dinner table with their smartphones saying, yeah, tell me about your school day after I answer my email, or this is a text that just came in.
No doubt technology helps us in a lot of ways. Learning at school? Definitely. Teaching kids about building relationships? Maybe not. It's all about balance and finding what's right for your family. By making conscious decisions, the Danneman and Foles families have found the right balance for theirs.
Dr. Gurwitch says there's no hard and fast rule for when kids are ready for an iPod or smartphone. She says base it on what's it being used for and whether the child needs it to communicate with parents. Also, if they lose track of a device or damage it too often, kids probably aren't ready for that responsibility. All right, well, we're trying to be... Which one?
What'd you say? I was tweeting. I'm sorry.
Did you tweet about me tonight? No, we're looking forward to, I don't know, something with the weather this weekend that says it's not going to be a washout. Is that possible?
It's not going to be a washout, but
Okay.
it's not going to be great either. Okay. So I'd say there's some times where you could probably go outside, but let's look forward to next week.
Okay.
It's April after all. We get kind of this
April showers,
dicey weather. Yeah, dicey this weekend. Cool weather continuing. In fact, we have freeze warnings to talk about. So all of these areas north of town, that lighter blue, that's a freeze warning. It goes into effect at 2 a.m. and expires at 10 a.m. So we are going to see those areas possibly with temperatures below the freezing mark. Now south of town, right around the city, Eastern Shore, Howard County, Montgomery County, down towards D.C., those are all under frost advisory. So those are the areas where maybe if you have plants outside that are important to you, just cover them up. You don't have to necessarily bring them inside. We're going to be in the mid-30s in those areas. And regardless, cold across the board by tomorrow morning as you're waking up, and those temperatures are not going to really rebound too much tomorrow afternoon, so another chilly day. We should be in the upper 60s this time of year. We're going to be in the upper 50s once again tomorrow and Sunday. So cool weather to continue. Also some rain to talk about. It arrives late tomorrow and lasts through part of the day on Sunday. We're going to see some sunshine by early next week though, so improvement on the way and a gradual warming trend. So slowly warming back to normal and maybe even above average temperatures by the middle and later part of the week. Not tomorrow morning though. Take a look at these temperatures. 30 in Westminster at 5 a.m. Very cold out there. 36 in Baltimore, 34 in Cockeysville, a bit milder near the bay, 43 in Annapolis. Now as we go in towards mid-morning, we're really not warming up a whole lot. We're just making it into the low 40s at that point here in the city and then rising into the mid-50s by the afternoon, but still well below average for this time of year. Now we're not going to be quite as cool on Sunday morning, dropping down into the upper 40s, low 50s in most locations. That's with the rain coming in. So we're going to see some cool temperatures in the afternoon, just not during those early morning hours on Sunday, staying in the upper 50s, low 60s maybe on Sunday afternoon if we see the sun in time. Here's a look at the timeline on that rain. So we're going to start off tomorrow with a little bit of sunshine, pretty quickly clouding up through the day, a mix of sun and clouds, but really more clouds throughout the day. Rain arrives later in the evening. This is 7 p.m., moving from southwest to northeast, starting to move in towards D.C. and then eventually by about 8 or 9 coming up in towards the Baltimore area. On and off showers overnight tomorrow night into Sunday. Cloudy conditions continue as the system kind of moves through the area. A lot of it's going to stay south of us though. The timeline on it moving out, 6:30 according to our future scan. On Sunday evening we start to see some clearing skies just in time for sunset and then staying dry on Monday. Maybe a brief shower lingering. I think they'll stay west of town. I think we're going to actually be dry Monday all the way through the middle of next week. So 57 for tomorrow, seasonably cool day, an increase in our cloud cover through the day with showers arriving by the early part of the evening. I'll tell you about that warm up next week. That's coming up in the 7-day forecast.
The calories that make a difference when you're dieting in 10 minutes on Fox 45 News at 10. But next, a massive rally in support of the American flag, the image that sparked outrage when the News at 10 continues. A massive rally in support of the American flag is shutting down a Georgia university today. Valdosta State University is canceling all classes and on-campus events amid growing security concerns. Last Friday, a student was caught stomping and burning the flag. 22-year-old Eric Shepard was protesting what he called white supremacy racism. Organizers estimate there could be more than 4,000 people at the rally.
Social media has blown things up, and a lot of the comments are from people who aren't students.
I want to think of the university as safe, but at the same time, I understand that, in the real world, anything could happen.
Classes have been canceled ahead of today's rally and security is tight. Americans will spend trillions of dollars this year on health care. In fact, more of your tax dollars will go to pay for things like Medicare and Medicaid than ever before. Here's national correspondent Christine Frizzell.
How much health care can you buy with $1?
Probably about 5 cents.
Nope. The federal government squeezes more than 5 times that from every buck flowing into the IRS. To be exact, 27.5 cents of every taxable dollar is now spent on health care.
As the baby boom generation retires, as Medicaid programs in the states get more expensive, and as we continue to leave money on the table by failing to pursue waste, fraud, and abuse, the price tag's only going to get higher.
According to government numbers, 4 federal health insurance programs, Medicare, Medicaid, CHIP, and the Affordable Care Act, cost taxpayers nearly $840 billion in 2014. That's nearly a quarter of the U.S. budget.
Healthcare spending by the government outpaces all federal spending. Taxpayers shell out more for it than any other government program or service, including national defense.
What is it that most people pray about?
Ron Pollock is the executive director of Families USA, a healthcare advocacy group which considers itself, quote, the voice for healthcare consumers.
They pray about their own personal circumstances. They're not praying about what's happening in Syria. They're praying that their spouse, that they themselves and their children are healthy.
But the reality is healthcare costs are rising, up 22% since 2012.
I've got a disabled daughter, and there's no better way you could spend that money than to put 27 cents on people that need health care.
The government's responsibility is to protect this country.
and to protect these citizens. It was never intended that the government take care of your health care.
Pete Sapp and Ron Pollock agree on but one part of health care. Weed out the billions wasted every year on fraud. I'm Christine Frizzell, Fox 45 News.
Time Warner Cable and Comcast are agreeing to go their separate ways. This comes after getting pushback from federal regulators. Comcast officially withdrew its $45 billion bid for Time Warner, saying, quote, "Today we move on." The combined company would have controlled 30% of the country's pay TV market and nearly 60% of the broadband internet market. The frenzy over the Apple iWatch starts today. This is the scene in Los Angeles. The line started forming long before the stores opened. This despite the fact Apple's own retail stores won't be carrying the watch on launch day. Only a handful of stores across the world will get a few models to sell today. Let's find out how our weather's looking for the weekend and even coming up in the week. Here's meteorologist Emily Grayson.
Not a great weekend. Temperatures will be in the mid to upper 50s, so seasonably cool. Rain moving in tomorrow evening, sticking around through Sunday morning and then clearing out of here. Monday, maybe a lingering shower, but I think we should clear out by then. Getting up to 60 on Monday, low to mid 60s Tuesday, upper 60s Wednesday. We're still dry at that point. Rain chances come back in on Thursday. We're watching the potential for a coastal system, so that one could bring us some heavy rain and wind. Either way, it should be out of here by next weekend. Looking good. Back to some normal high temperatures. Kai?
Thanks, Emily. The Orioles have lost 4 straight, the era that's led to tonight's game-winning hit. Next in Sports Unlimited. And calories count when you're trying to lose weight, the ones that count more when the News at 10 continues.
A big trade in the works in baseball, a massive fire on the track, but first the O's trying to get back in the win column. Miguel Gonzalez became the first O starter to go 6 innings in the last 8 games, but there gives up the 3-run homer to David Ortiz. Red Sox up 3-2. 8th inning tied at 4, 2 outs. Alan Craig chopper to third. Manny Machado will misplay it for his 3rd error of the year to keep the inning alive. Here it is. Here's the error on Manny. Then the next batter, Brock Holt, getting a hold of a pitch that he likes, and this one also gone onto the flat court for a 3-run homer. Boston extends the O's losing streak to 5 straight, 7-5 final. Mets and Yankees. Mets have won 11 straight. Bernie Williams officially retires 9 years after he last played. Bottom of the first, Mark Teixeira launches one to right. Staying fair, gone for a 2-run shot is 6-2 Yankees. 3rd inning, more from the Mount St. Joe grad. Teixeira to the same spot. 2nd of the game, 7th of the season. Yankees in the Mets winning streak, 6-1 final. Josh Hamilton's brief time in L.A. may be over. Multiple reports have him going back to the Rangers. The Angels will reportedly eat about $65 million of the remaining $83 million left of his contract. Texas might not even have to give up any players in the deal. Hamilton hit .305 in 5 years with the Rangers. He batted just .255 in 2 seasons with the Angels. To the Xfinity Series at Richmond, Brendan Gaughan's car catches fire on pit row. His rear tire changer, Anthony O'Brien, was right in the path of the flames. The crew quickly put out the blaze. O'Brien and 2 other crewmen were taken to a local hospital with burn injuries. Thankfully, all are okay tonight. High school and college lacrosse +3, the game 3 between the Wizards and Raptors. That's coming up at 11:30 on the Late Edition.
It turns out that not all calories are created equal. Researchers found that eating quality proteins and carbohydrates is vital for managing your weight as you age. The quality and amount of carbs, known as the glycemic load, appears to influence how much or how little a person gains. They found that for every 50-unit increase in a person's daily glycemic load, which is equivalent to 2 bagels basically, that person added an extra pound to their frame over a 4-year period. A young Star Wars fan with a troubling question: how George Lucas was able to put his mind at ease. And coming up in 5 minutes on the Late Edition, a delayed farewell, why it was a good day for Eric Holder. And a popular brand of cold relief medicine is being pulled from store shelves. The reason why is news you need to know. A young Star Wars fan can start planning his Jedi wedding after getting the okay from George Lucas. This is Colin Gilpatrick. He wants to be a Jedi Knight and also walk down the aisle. Problem is, marriage is not allowed according to Jedi lore. So Colin wrote to George Lucas asking him to change the rule. Well, after a few weeks, Lucas responded and gave him the all clear. Colin is so excited, well, he's gotten himself in a little trouble in school for asking all of the girls in his class to marry him.